Agora foi.
Ok,
I've got a
Live.
live in my corner here.
ok. Tá aparecendo aqui também.
I got a live now.
Yeah?
I got it on the screen here, but sometimes it takes a
Oh.
little while
Uhum.
to show up on YouTube. Like it's a little delay.
Yeah.
Ah, pera. Switch account. Estou em outro account. Ok. Peraí.
It's happening on the channel right now. Tá aparecendo no canal.
Tá aparecendo?
Tá.
Somebody's seeing it. Andre Masquedo is sending
Yeah, I
me a
see it.
message.
Switch account. Oh, okay.
Channel.
Okay, so
Oh,
let's do it.
we're
Right?
rolling.
Ok. Bom, vou falar em português. Estamos começando a primeira mesa de diálogo do 18º Festival Carioca de Improvisação. E eu quero dizer que, primeiramente, eu estou bem nervosa, estou bem emocionada com essa mesa, porque eu estou aqui com pessoas que eu admiro muito, que são meus ídolos dentro da improvisação, e eu vou começar apresentando os nossos convidados. Então, vou começar apresentando... Peraí, só um minuto, gente. Só um minutinho. Tô chegando, calma. Bom, vou começar apresentando o Tomás, que está na coordenação junto comigo, e tem o Davi também, que está na coordenação desse festival. Eu sou a Aline Bursô, também estou nessa coordenação e direção, e estamos aqui com Frank Totino, simplesmente Frank Totino, que para mim é uma grande referência da improvisação mundial. Ele é um colega, um antigo colega e amigo do Keith, que atualmente dirige uma peça do Keith, talvez a melhor peça do Keith, em Atenas. Ele vai falar sobre isso. E ele também é o único diretor do Keith Johnstone Workshops. Bom, também nessa mesa estamos com Lisete Villegas. É grande aqui essa descrição. Lisete Villegas é uma atriz, improvisadora e gestora cultural chilena, dedicada à pesquisa e criação e ensino de improvisação teatral desde 2004. É fundadora da Escola de Improvisação Los Playmobil e do Festival Internacional Impro Chile World. Estudou com Keith Johnstone em 2017, foi vencedora do Prêmio Nacional CLAP de Artes Cênicas do Chile, e entre seus espetáculos e criações mais notáveis estão o espetáculo infantil La Patrulha de la Imaginación, Suspects e Féminas. Atualmente é mãe de 2 filhos e diretora executiva do Teatro Los Playmobil. E também, nessa mesa, temos uma pessoa que eu também admiro muito, muito querida, que eu vou pegar aqui, calma aí. Aqui, ó. Teresa Robbins Dudek é PhD, é biógrafa do Keith Johnstone, executora literária e cofundadora da Global Improvisation Initiative, my English is not so good, é uma das principais professoras do sistema Impro de Johnstone. Ela co-dirige com sua irmã Alicia Robbins a série documental On Keith, Artists Speak on Johnstone and Impro, que está no YouTube. A gente vai também botar um link desse documentário. Ela também é coeditora de 2 livros sobre improvisação aplicada. Em 2019, como bolsista Fulbright, passou 4 meses ensinando e dirigindo no Brasil, incluindo uma masterclass na Companhia de Teatro Contemporâneo. Teresa ensina improvisação e improvisação aplicada em todo o mundo. Em Oregon, onde mora, ela leciona na Portland State University e no The Actors Conservatory. E depois a gente vai botar os links, né, de todo mundo aqui. Bom, nós vamos fazer o seguinte: temos muitas linguagens aqui, muitos idiomas, digamos assim. Então, eu vou falar em português, em portunhol, e o Tomás vai falar em inglês para gente.
Ok.
Bom, nós fizemos umas perguntinhas, né? Mas eu quero que vocês também estejam livres para falar o que vocês quiserem, tá bom? Quer traduzir? Primeiro faz essa apresentação,
Sim,
né, Tomás?
sim, sim. Essa que você acabou de falar ou de todo mundo?
De todo mundo.
Okay. Welcome everybody to our live chat that's called Keith Johnstone and his legacy. We have here with us first Frank Totino, who is Keith's longtime colleague and friend, who is currently directing Keith's Best Play in Athens. He's also the only director of the Keith Johnstone workshops. Also, we have Lisette Villegas, Chilean improviser, actress, and cultural manager, dedicated to researching, creating, and teaching theatrical improvisation since 2004. Founder of the Los Playmobil Improvisation School and the Impro Chile World International Festival. Studied with Keith Johnstone in 2017. She won the CLAP National Performing Arts Award in Chile. Among her most notable shows and creations are the children's show La Patrulla de la Imaginación, Suspects, and Feminas. She's currently a mother of 2 children and an executive director of the theater Los Playmobil. Also joining us, we have Teresa Robbins Dudek, PhD, Keith Johnstone's biographer, literary executor, co-founder of the Global Improvisation Initiative, and a foremost teacher of Johnstone's Impro System. She co-directs with her sister Alicia Robbins the docuseries On Keith, Artists Speak on Johnstone and Impro. Check out the On Keith interview with Barbicious. She's also co-editor of 2 books on applied improvisation. In 2019, as a Fulbright scholar, she spent 4 months teaching and directing in Brazil, including a masterclass here at Companhia de Teatro Contemporâneo. Teresa teaches improvisation and applied improvisation all over the world. In Oregon, where she lives, she teaches at Portland State University and the Actors Conservatory. For more info, visit theimprofessor.com.
Ok. Podemos, então? Então, eu pensei que podemos começar com uma pergunta. Que esta mesa, a gente também não falou, mas é porque está lá no letreiro, esta mesa é uma mesa que a gente está falando da importância do Keith Johnstone no mundo da improvisação para todos nós, assim, talvez uma das maiores referências nas nossas vidas de improvisação. E aí eu pensei da gente começar com uma perguntinha. E aí qualquer um pode responder, quem quiser responder primeiro. Como o pensamento de Johnstone sobre a criatividade e a improvisação pode ser aplicado fora do mundo do teatro e em campos como negócios e educação. Quem quer responder isso?
Eu vou traduzir, né?
Sim.
So first, let's start with a question regarding how can we teach, how can we talk about Keith's teachings about spontaneity and improvisation in other areas other than theater, like business and education?
Quem quer responder? Who wants to
Start?
I can start if you,
Okay.
I was thinking about this morning. So one of the things that why Johnstone's work in particular is really applicable in applied improvisation, which is now being used in fields as diverse as as business, health, all the social sciences are using it. They're using it with, engineers and, team building, leadership training, but also for people with Alzheimer's, and right, because it's really about attunement, and also self-awareness, right? And Keith's work in particular has really had I think, but I'm biased a little bit. Do I need to slow down?
A little bit, please. Então, gente, a Teresa está começando a explicar, né, como
I
que...
forgot.
So, no, it's okay, Teresa, no problem, no problem. I think I can remember most of it.
Yeah.
Ela está introduzindo essa questão que a gente perguntou para ela, né, explicando que tem uma aplicação muito grande, né, além, né, de campos como ciências humanas, como também de engenharia, e mesmo para tratar casos, né, como Alzheimer, porque os ensinamentos do Keith, eles têm a ver muito com o desenvolvimento de maneiras de sintonizar as pessoas umas com as outras e de justamente trabalhar mais essa questão da espontaneidade que eu acho que ela vai desenvolver um pouco mais em diante. Please continue, Teresa.
Oh, and this is something Frank and I have talked about for years. I mean, Frank was sort of the one who first said, and I think I put this in the biography, that Keith's work is not only about the experience, but understanding why the experience exists. All of Keith's work is grounded in theory, right? It's so critical theory underpins his work. I guess that's enough.
Yes, it's okay, it's okay. Então, a
Fala
Teresa...
devagar, Tomás, para Lisete também.
Ok. A Teresa explicou agora que todo o trabalho do Keith é muito baseado, né, numa experiência, ele é muito empírico, né? Mas, ao mesmo tempo, tem uma teoria que ele valoriza bastante, né? E que ela escreveu a respeito disso na biografia e conversou com o Frank a respeito. Então, ele tem esse espírito de pesquisa muito forte, tanto para entender as experiências enquanto elas estão acontecendo, mas também de escrever, de teorizar sobre elas.
Yeah, so once you understand the theory, then you understand that it's a solution to a problem, and you have connections, sort of synergistic connections to other fields, and that makes it applicable beyond the theater.
Essa teoria, né, que ele foi desenvolvendo de improvisação é uma teoria que tem muita sinergia com outras áreas do conhecimento, né, tais como ela mencionou, engenharia, ciências humanas, até questões biomédicas, como ela mencionou, e que, enfim, tudo pode ser aplicado para diversos campos.
Frank?
Perfect. Lisete.
What, is that over to me? Can you hear me? Oh.
Look.
Shit, sorry.
Just a minute.
Oh, you can hear me, right? Okay, good.
Frank?
Yeah, what Teresa was talking about. No, who is it?
Frank. I think it's you, Frank.
Go, Frank.
Okay. Okay, all right. When Teresa was talking about Keith's ideas being grounded in theory, yeah, it's like most people think of improv as, many people think of improv as games and ways to express yourself, which always makes me feel like, I don't know, we're not fruit. We're not trying to turn ourselves into fruit juice. So expressing is an odd feeling for me. But when she talked about these theories, it's like we're studying human behavior when we study acting or when we work in the theater. I mean, that's kind of what we're interested in. And so Keith would have a concept about human behavior, some concept like relative status, for example. And then how do you explore that without just sitting around talking about it? So he would come up with exercises to allow the participant to experience the behavioral connections, whatever that might mean, high status, low status. what happens if you hold eye contact, what happens if you stutter your words, what happens if you take up less space or more space, these kinds of things. Yeah. So there's concepts behind everything. And I think he called them games because exercise sounded more like work and he wanted people to have fun doing this. But at the same time, if you're going to have experiential learning, you got to experience something. So there's turning concept into what's the opposite? What's the other side of concept? Reality, maybe, or
into practice or
insight, perhaps.
embodied practice.
Yeah, practice. You hope that you gain some insight from practicing these conceptual ideas through experiencing them. And if you get enough insight, if you get enough insight, maybe you can learn something about your own behavior, which translates to the things Teresa was talking about.
Ok. O Frank está explicando que, justamente, assim, muitas vezes as pessoas, elas acham que a improvisação é só divertimento, é só jogo, que ele comparou a um suco de fruta, muito açucarado, né? Mas que não é só isso. A improvisação, ela tem uma teoria, né? E o Keith, ele procurou, por exemplo, fazer com que conceitos como status, por exemplo, fossem compreendidos através de uma prática, né, e através de insights que as pessoas vão tendo a partir de exercícios e jogos que ele vai aplicando, né, para fazer com que não seja só justamente puro entretenimento, né? Tem uma teoria, tem conceitos ali. E o Keith, ele prefere usar o termo jogos ao invés de exercícios, porque jogo soa mais divertido, né? E exercício soa mais como trabalho.
Lisette, ¿quieres complementar
Sí.
algunas?
Bueno, voy a hablar sobre mi experiencia. Em, la escuela que nosotros tenemos acá en Chile, la mayoría de los alumnos y alumnas que asisten son gente que no busca fines artísticos, viene a trabajar habilidades comunicacionales, ¿sí? Por distintas razones. Y es un cambio fundamental en sus vidas cuando conocen la improvisación.
Sí.
Tanto es así que después deciden o toman la decisión de seguir explorando e investigando y entran en esta adicción también de este amor por la creación espontánea. Sucede por un efecto, bueno, que yo creo que Kit lo sabía muy bien, que algunos de los ejercicios principales de la técnica de Kit para desatar la creatividad, para desatar el juego, es muy mágico lo que sucede con ellos cuando no tienen este prejuicio o este miedo al equívoco, a equivocarse en el escenario. Entonces, para mí yo creo que él lo tenía muy claro en ese sentido. Y cuando llevamos esto a un campo laboral, ya sea de negocio, a una empresa o alguien que queremos explorar esta comunicación, creo que es maravilloso. O sea, creo que ese legado es muy claro y efectivo. También pasa que tal vez, esa es mi teoría, que por eso las personas que a veces no vienen del teatro convencional, de una escuela stanislavskiana, de repente tienen mucho acierto y la llegada es mucho más clara, mucho más simple en estos ejercicios. Se atreven a estar desnudos, como decía Kit, entregándote al regalo que te pueda ofrecer el otro compañero.
Perfecto. Traduz, Tomás, para...
Frank, para Teresa? Okay, so Lisette was telling us that she sees that there are a lot of people that come to her improv classes that aren't seeking exactly to be artists or professional actors, but they want to develop their communication skills, and they learn a lot through the classes. It's really aggregating in many ways that it isn't exactly for artistic means, but it helps them a lot in their lives. Lisette, yo no pegué lo restante. ¿Te puede repetir, por favor? Fue mucho longo.
Ah, ok. ¿Qué quieres que te repita? ¿Qué parte? ¿Qué cosa sobre el...?
De la mitad al final, ¿puede ser?
Ah, ok. Bueno, que yo lo que planteaba es que es muy, esto es muy importante porque finalmente la gente que no venía del teatro convencional o que no viene de una escuela stanislavskiana, por ejemplo, y que viene a trabajar solamente habilidades comunicativas, a veces tiene mucho mejor llegada y efectivamente es una muy buena herramienta, quizás para negocios o para empresas o para gente que no viene del teatro convencional, estos ejercicios que son muy simples que eran de que...
Okay, so she's telling us that unlike in conventional theater, like a Stanislavskian theater, the improvisational theater can give people a lot more of tools for business, for entrepreneurship, for communication skills. There's a lot of contributions from improv that she sees that comes from improv, but she doesn't see exactly coming from conventional theater.
Ok, então vou passar para uma outra questão, já que a gente falou, a gente sabe que Keith Johnstone é uma referência importante, mas aí é que tá. Queria saber, na opinião de vocês, o que é ou foi transformador na filosofia, se a gente for pensar em improvisação, sempre existiu improvisação dentro das artes, dentro do teatro, e o que transforma, o que foi transformador na filosofia e método do Keith, e na sua opinião, o que era antes e o que mudou depois da experiência vivida com o Keith. Como voy a hablar para... la pregunta es, en la su opinión, Lisette,
Ujú.
¿o qué tú consideras transformador o revolucionario, por así decir, en la metodología y filosofía del Keith? ¿Y o que piensas que era diferente después de tú teres vivido la experiencia en loco, en presencial con Keith?
Sí. En el caso de Sudamérica, cuando tú estudias la carrera de actuación profesional, no tienes ningún conocimiento en la improvisación. Llegaba muy poca información. Lo primero que llegó a Sudamérica como información de herramientas de improvisación fue el libro de Kit. O sea, lo único que había llegado fue esto acá. No había nada más en español. Y ignorantemente se pensaba que la improvisación no es teatro. O sea, había muchos de las escuelas así conservadoras que decían la improvisación no es teatro. ¿Ok? O lo que hacían las compañías profesionales, eso no es teatro. Lo
Como
cual
una
nos
cosa
parecía
menor.
gravísimo. Cuando nos empezamos a validar y de alguna manera tomar un peso importante, es cuando en esta discrepancia de opiniones aparece el tema, pero basado en qué ustedes pueden decir que la improvisación es teatro. Y Kit yo creo que es fundamental. Es un antes y un después de que aparece la información o los libros o los estudios que hace Kit Johnstone a partir para actores y no actores en el fondo.
Perfecto. ¿Puedes traducir la pregunta para Frank and
O lo
Teresa?
que
Okay, so Frank, Teresa, Aline is asking, what's so revolutionary and transformative about the way that Keith handles improvisation? And how do you both experience improvisation before you had your contact with Keith and after you had your contact with Keith?
I'll go. Because I want to talk on, I don't know what Lisette just said, but what you said before, a couple of things, and this, now I'm going to bring in Paulo Freire, Paulo Freire. Yeah, so Keith, and I talk about this in the biography and elsewhere, for me, is a liberatory educator, a critical pedagogue, just like Freire, right? And he decoded what Keith called the kinetic dance. He decoded the coded dance of behavior for us. He broke it down into small parts and then created, as Frank said, these exercises and techniques where we could put the behavior together through play, through theater. I think it's really important that we keep the applied improvisation that's happening out there connected to its roots in theater, because up here we're seeing a lot of disconnect, and we must remember that all of this stuff in the books that I've written and co-edited about applied improvisation, it's still rooted in theatrical improvisation. It may be connected to other fields of study, but it's still rooted. Keith connected all of his work to philosophy, Asian theory, voodoo culture, right? You can go on and on. He absolutely, and so for me, that liberatory education, connecting to what Freire says, that we can't understand our reality in fragments. We've got to decode it, right? And then we have to understand it as part of the whole to really truly be able to understand behavior and reality, and then be able to change that as well. So that, for me, that's what Keith did. Like I studied with Avery Schreiber, Second City member, Viola Spolin tradition before Keith, and I love Spolin's work, but Keith decoded Spolin's work for me, right? I was able to sort of see, oh, that's the problem she's trying to solve, right? So ultimately, Keith he's an educator, he's a teacher, and every space is his classroom, even the stage, his audiences are students in his classroom. He teaches when he directs a show, right? He teaches the audience. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I think it ties in to the first question.
Okay, great.
Sim. Então, a Teresa está comentando, gente, que o que chama mais atenção nos ensinos do Keith Johnstone para ela é que ele é um libertário, né, assim como o Paulo Freire, e ele entende que a gente não pode compreender a realidade em partes, né? A gente tem que entender o todo da realidade, né? E que isso tem uma aplicação muito grande para diferentes contextos. E Teresa, I'm sorry, but I've lost. It was a little bit too much for me to process.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's okay.
I'm just saying Keith was a liberatory educator like Freire, who understood the need to decode the coded dance of behavior for the world. And I also talked about we can't separate applied improvisation from theatrical improvisation, because that's our roots, right? When we do that, we water it down, I think. But and then Freire's idea that if you don't take a look at behavior and decode it, and you only understand it in small bits or fragments, but you don't understand it as part of the larger picture of how the world works, then you're never going to be able to change that, right? So that also applies to applied improvisation and all of these things. But that's what Keith did. He decoded the coded dance for us.
Entendi. Então,
Yeah.
complementando o que ela tinha falado, ela também explica que o Keith decodificou a dança cinética do nosso comportamento, né? Como que as nossas pequenas interações vão formando uma realidade maior, que através desse entendimento dessas pequenas interações, a gente também se torna capaz de mudar essa realidade, né? Tal como Paulo Freire queria fazer. E além disso, ela também explicou que não tem uma diferença entre a improvisação aplicada e, Teresa, you said there was
Espetáculo.
e espetáculo.
Espetáculo.
Espetáculo, tá?
E
Espetáculo.
tem uma outra coisinha também que acho que é legal dela, que ela falou, que foi a questão de começar a educar também a plateia. Lembra
Uhum,
disso? Que
uhum,
ela também falou dessa questão que o Keep faz isso, né, de poder também formando esse olhar, né, essa plateia que assiste, que
uhum.
teve essa questão.
Ok.
Frank, do you want to talk
Can
about
you
it?
repeat the question again?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
okay.
Sorry.
The question was, how is Keith's system revolutionary and transformative in relation to other forms of improvisation? And how was your experience with improvisation before you had a contact with Keith and after you had a contact with him? Can you just answer in small bits, please, so that I can remember?
Well, yeah. I guess the shortest answer is you're either improvising or you're not. I mean, there's no good impro and bad impro. You're either improvising or you're not. And when you're improvising, you take a chance that you're going to discover something.
Mhm.
And isn't that what isn't that what we're here for?
Mhm.
You can say that much.
Ok. O Frank está explicando que, no fundo, ou você está improvisando ou você não está improvisando. Não tem muita diferença entre a improvisação que ele teve contato antes ou depois. Ou você está improvisando ou você não está.
And as far as Teresa's comments about theatrical roots make sense to me because we learn by telling stories. We learn by having stories told to us. And if you're going to improvise storytelling, then we should know what that actually means so that we can make those connections to ourselves in the audience or on the stage. For me, before I met Keith, I worked. Well, I didn't work. I was an artist. I was in a band, and I played music. But my favorite thing to do in the band was to jam. Back then, nobody used the word improvisation unless you were talking about musicians. But even as musicians, we didn't call it improvisation. We just jammed. And what happened when I met Keith was he put a vocabulary to the behaviors that I was experiencing. I was in my late 20s sort of thing and trying to figure out why I would have reactions to people's behaviors that didn't seem to have anything to do with what they were actually saying while they were behaving, if you see what I mean. But and yet you knew something was happening. You had all these sensations that there's something hidden here. This is about this coding that I think that you're talking about, this kinetic dance that Keith would have called it, where somebody moves in the room and everybody adjusts. And I used to wonder, why do we do that? And then he came along and he put a vocabulary to the experience.
Entendi.
So before and after was kind of having a language to speak about these things.
Uhum. Então, o Frank está explicando que antes dele fazer a improvisação com Keith Johnson, ele tinha uma banda, ele tocava instrumentos e que improvisação, né, não era um termo muito utilizado ou era um termo meio vago mesmo, né? E que depois que ele conheceu o Keith Johnson, o Keith apresentou conceitos para ele, como a dança cinética que a Teresa citou, e a partir desses termos, né, ele foi entendendo melhor como pensar sobre a improvisação, né? Ele foi adquirindo ferramentas para pensar como é que a improvisação funciona e também sobre o comportamento das pessoas, como as pessoas interagem. Então, eu entendi que ele trouxe muito esse insight sobre o comportamento humano e também desenvolveu ferramentas para conversar sobre improvisação, né, para entender melhor a improvisação.
É, eu queria compartilhar agora, antes da gente abrir um próximo tema, um tópico, eu
Uhum.
queria compartilhar o doc que a Teresa mandou, o material que a Teresa mandou. O que você acha? Dá para ser?
Ok,
Dá
ok.
para a gente compartilhar o vídeo?
Sure. So now before we proceed to the next question, we're going to share Theresa's video on Keith, his doc, ok? Eu compartilho ali.
Yeah.
Ok.
Teresa, you're muted.
Oh, you mean the clip, the on Keith clip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Okay,
short
not the
clip.
Wake video, that tribute,
Okay.
which, okay, good.
Okay.
Ok?
Okay.
Oh no. That's the one Frank and Andre and I and the whole Wake team put together. So this is not just mine.
Okay. You want
Andre Moscheto was our editor. So I want to make sure that he gets credit for this if we're showing this.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Ok.
Great.
Qual é, então, Aline? É esse aqui?
Oh, this is the other thing I see.
This is
Sorry.
the other. Qual que você...
The video, o vídeo que eu enviei para você, que era...
Yeah, maybe you could just show a piece of the other.
Okay, just
Esse, qual dos dois eu mostro? Esse?
No, that's not a spot of Keith is what you want. If you want to show the on Keith thing,
Okay.
and just a little bit of that would be fine. Like wherever I told
yeah,
you.
okay,
Okay.
you can show this one. And Teresa, if you want to talk about this.
Yeah, this is just my relationship with Keith for the last, I don't know, 17 years, you know, since has been this, like sitting next to him asking a million questions.
Yeah,
and
about for the book, right?
For the docu-series as his literary executor, trying to figure out what he wanted his legacy to be. And this is one of his projects, or one of the things that we talked about. So it was these 5,000 faces he drew. So yeah, go ahead.
Ok.
Better. I don't know if we can hear it.
Did my drawings turn up?
3 of the folders, 3 of them, 2, 3, and 4, but not 1 and 5.
I don't think there was 5.
There's just 4.
But where's 1?
I don't know where 1 is, but here's 2, 3. Let's look. Come sit down.
You can sit here.
So tell us about this. These are 5. I mean, I don't know where 1 is, but 5,000 faces.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, well. Eventually, eye doctors told me I was definitely going to go blind and there was no hope. Anyway, I thought I'd learn to draw faces. Because I'm no good at drawing faces, I would get so depressed if I did 200 bad faces. I give up. But if you decide I'm going to draw 5,000 faces, which I thought would take me a year. If you're going to draw 5,000 faces and you do 2,000 crappy ones, you don't care because you can't avoid the mistakes. You learn by making mistakes.
Right.
Again, another example is stupid teachers who make you think failing. If you're failing, you're learning.
Right.
That's good. You don't have to, just a little
So
tidbit. There's
beautiful.
more.
Great.
If you're failing, you're
um,
learning. If you're failing, you're
yeah.
learning.
I want to do a question that I didn't wrote. I want to know, eu quero saber o que vocês pensam, qual é a opinião de vocês sobre seguirmos determinadas sobre regras na improvisação. Quero ouvir sobre o que seria o princípio mais importante, ou o que a gente não pode abandonar na improvisação, ou o que realmente é importante dentro, se a gente for falar de regras, que regras são essas?
So Aline wants to make a surprise question, like she said. It's regarding rules of improvisation. She wants to know your opinions about rules of improvisation, if we should absolutely follow them, if there are principles that we must always adhere, or, you know, if you think differently from that. Who wants to start?
I'll try that one.
Okay.
The concept of rules is based on the idea that if Keith would invent an exercise, he would try it out many times and make a lot of mistakes in practice, and then learn how to set up the exercise after making all of those mistakes. So when he came to call it a game, games usually have rules, so he would switch it from, these are all the things I found out these are the mistakes I made. He would say, if you do this, this, and this, and this, then we'll get to the core of the concept quicker. But if you call it a rule, then people get anti-authoritarian immediately. So.
O Frank está explicando que o Keith ele foi elaborando as regras para os jogos dele muito a partir de tentativas e erros, né? Ele foi construindo as regras para os jogos a partir de muitas experiências, né? E que I'm sorry, Frank. After you said that Keith elaborated his games based on making a lot of mistakes and making a lot of games, what did you say after that?
Well, he's trying to be more efficient as a teacher, so he would say, here's what you do in this setup an exercise, a game. You do this, then we're going to be dealing with the concept that we're trying to explore here.
Entendi. A cada exercício, então, tem sempre um conceito que ele está explorando, e esses exercícios eles vão sendo realmente elaborados com o tempo, né? E as regras só valem no contexto daquele jogo e para aquele conceito que está sendo trabalhado naquele momento.
But he'd also be the first one to say, break the rules. Maybe you'll find out something we haven't found yet. So.
Mas ele também seria a primeira pessoa que estimularia as pessoas a quebrarem as regras, apesar dessa ideia anterior.
But break the rules so that you can find out something, not just because you don't like rules. You see what I mean? Because they're not really rules.
Sim, então, para você quebrar as regras, mas não só para você quebrar as regras, mas para você descobrir coisas novas a partir dessa quebra.
Yeah, don't break the rule to, as Keith would say, to make it more safe. Right. It-
Yeah.
Yeah. Break the rule because this process demands something different. It's impro is as much of a philosophy as a tactical approach. So if you need to break the rule, understand why you're doing it and make sure it's not to make it more safe.
Yeah, and philosophy means the study of life.
Yes. It's a philosophy.
They still, where I am now in Greece, they use words like ology a lot because it's part of their language. Ology, I mean philosophy, ology.
Então,
Tomás.
Go ahead, Tomás.
Então, a Teresa, depois que o Frank terminou de falar, ela reforçou que justamente assim, a gente não pode quebrar as regras simplesmente para quebrar as regras, é para a gente, né, descobrir coisas novas, aprender coisas novas, né, para a gente entender um pouco mais sobre a filosofia da improvisação também, né, porque tem jogos que a gente pode quebrar regras justamente para a gente entender melhor o que está acontecendo, o que está sendo proposto, né? Então, eu acho que é basicamente isso que eles estavam comentando agora.
Lisete, ¿qué piensas acerca de reglas?
Reglas, ok.
Reglas. ¿Cómo te sientes cuanto a este tópico dentro de la improvisación? ¿Estas qué es?
Cuando yo pienso que cuando logramos este acuerdo en el escenario, ya uno te puedes liberar de esas reglas, ¿sí? Cuando el acuerdo de la escucha está muy activo y cuando realmente nosotros llegamos a este juego kinésico que hablaba, ¿no? Que estamos compenetrados el uno con el otro, ya te puedes liberar de las reglas, ¿sí? Em, si bien en un principio yo no le diría reglas, le diría más que son como principios, ¿sí? Son los principios de la técnica. Y creo que eso tiene que trascender y creo que tiene que pasar. Es nuestro principal legado de lo que nos enseñaba él en el fondo.
Sim, para ti, o que consideras mais importante, mais fundamental dentro destes princípios?
La escucha activa, principalmente este juego de que no estoy solo en el escenario, sino que estoy con mi compañero, que es el principal regalo para mí, el estar con mi compañero, y que mientras más desprovisto de ideas puedas ingresar al escenario, mejor va a ser esa conexión con el otro.
So, okay, in the first part, Lisette was saying that the rules are better, the principles. She thinks it's better to think them as principles, not rules. They are very important for the improviser to learn, to be grounded in some sort of theory, some sort of way to improvise. But after he understands the principles, he's free to challenge them and do what he thinks could be interest for him. The second part, a segunda parte eu preciso ouvir de novo porque eu não lembro. The second part I don't remember. I must hear it again.
Me dice que la dos, que
Sí.
lo que mencionaba es que
Mais importante.
que uno de los
Lo
principios
más
más importantes también es que no estás solo, que estás con tu compañero, que no estás solo. En el fondo, todo este juego, estás con él, por el cual te tienes que liberar del miedo porque estás con él, estás con tu compañero, y ahí está el mayor regalo.
So she's saying that also one of the great gifts that you have when you are improvising with someone is that you are together with that person on that same situation that can be hard, can be challenging, but it's a great gift to be doing that with someone.
Y tres, que Y tres, es que mientras más desnudo entres también al escenario sin ideas tan preconcebidas, a veces el juego o esta conexión era mucho más efectiva y en el fondo Kit siempre nos hablaba, o dentro de la experiencia que yo tuve, que una de las cosas que a mí más me marcó cuando tuve la oportunidad de estudiar con él, era esto, de entrar de manera mientras más desnudo entraras al escenario, mayor era la conexión que podías lograr con tu compañero o con tus compañeros, ¿sí?
So she also saying that one of the great gifts that she sees in improvisation is that you come to a scene without preconceived ideas, that you discover what's going to happen throughout the scene, not before it. So she says that that's also a very amazing part of the process.
O Frank tem também um material que ele gostaria de compartilhar e mostrar, né, para gente. Frank, do you have some material to share with us and talk about it?
I'm in Greece directing The Last Bird. You saw some little clips there. I don't have any real shots because we're in rehearsal of that production, but I have some shots taken, I don't know, like at least 10 or 11 years ago when I did the production in Sao Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some images from that production that are from, and I could show those if you want to take a look.
Okay.
Okay.
Try sharing the screen here.
Can you tell us about the Keith's play? Because we know Keith Johnstone as a great master of improvisation, but he also wrote some plays. And can you tell us about this experience?
Keith was what you might call a controversial playwright because he was always diving deep into how we are as a species. He was quite a
Frank, I'm sorry, can I just translate?
Please.
Então, gente, a Aline está perguntando para o Frank sobre a peça que ele está fazendo agora na Grécia, que foi uma peça que o Keith escreveu há muito tempo atrás e que ele chegou a montar em São Paulo e que ele vai compartilhar imagens dessa montagem em São Paulo agora. Please, Frank.
Yeah, his view of the world is not is dark, very much like Beckett, whom he was friends with and influenced by mostly through their kind of agreement on what a disaster we are as a species, really. So his play The Last Bird is a piece about war and how it is managed and manipulated into existence. And he has put some scenes in it that are right out of news reports from Vietnam back in the day. And you want to catch up there, Tomas?
Yeah, I can catch up. Então, o Frank está explicando que o Keith Johnstone ele era considerado um dramaturgo muito controverso, né? Ele trabalhava muito com humor negro, ele trabalhou junto com Beckett também, ele foi muito amigo do Beckett. E essa peça, o The Last Bird, ele usou muitos materiais na época que ela foi escrita, né? Tais como fotos do Vietnã, ele trabalhou muito com essa questão do Vietnã nessa peça, que é o The Last Bird, que o Frank está falando agora.
E da ideia de disaster, né? De disaster.
E com a ideia de desastre, isso.
Desastre.
So his this play, as I say, it's also based on news reports of the time about Vietnam and what was coming out in news reports in Sweden, but not in America, about atrocities being committed by the American soldiers on the Vietnamese villagers. And so this play has some of that in it. And it's horrific stuff. So how to tell that in a way without turning off the audience, and so he basically it's a play that includes almost all of his many of his conceptual ideas on how to theatricalize things. There's mask, there's status, it's all kinds of things. So that basically he had to present it in a way that we could watch it and stand to be in the theater. And so we use masks, we use naive design, inconsistency of design, so that there's no confusion that this is a work of art. It's a work of meaning. And yeah, and that's so it's kind of presented like a medieval mystery play. It has the same characters. It has death in it as a character. It has Jesus. It has a bishop.
Archetypes.
Yeah, a lot of archetypes in this piece, and the soldiers are a combination of medieval executioner and modern day stormtrooper.
Vai lá, go ahead, Tomás, devagar para
Para
gente.
entender. Então, o Frank está explicando que essa peça ela trabalha muito com notícias sobre a guerra do Vietnã, né? Notícias que apareciam na Suécia, mas não apareciam nos Estados Unidos, porque nos Estados Unidos elas foram censuradas e na Suécia elas não foram censuradas. Então, é uma peça que trata sobre temas muito pesados, muito difíceis de trazer para o teatro. E o Keith, ele sempre tentou, ele ficou pensando muito sobre como fazer com que essa peça pudesse ser teatralizada, né? Porque são temas muito difíceis, muito pesados, né, de se tratar da peça. Então, ele usa muitos recursos para fazer isso. Ele trabalha com status nessa peça, ele tem inspirações medievais para tratar desse assunto também. A morte e Jesus também aparecem nessa peça. São todos recursos para fazer com que seja uma linguagem mais fácil para trabalhar os temas pesados da guerra.
So these are some of the images from the São Paulo production. They capture the angel, which Keith had a dream about. Sorry, I'm having trouble here.
O Frank vai mostrar fotos da apresentação de São Paulo e de um anjo que o Keith sonhou e que apareceu na peça.
Well, that one doesn't want to show, so I'll try this one.
The bear. Oops.
The bear was the final way that death kills the grandfather of the little girl who goes off looking for the last bird, because there are no birds in a war zone. But she finds a feather. She saw a great thing in the sky flapping around, and it turns out it was an angel. So she brings the angel feather to the grandfather, and they go off looking through the free fire zone, and that's where they run into trouble in a big way.
Então, o Frank estava falando.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll just keep looking.
Não, o Frank agora estava compartilhando uma foto da peça, né, no qual tinha uma garota, né, com um ursinho de pelúcia que estava dentro de uma zona de guerra, né, tava representando ali uma zona de guerra, e ele estava explicando um pouco também, né, da dinâmica da peça, né, como é que era feito, enfim, representava ali uma zona de conflito, né.
Well, it looks like these things don't want to open for some reason. Sorry, guys.
No problem, Frank. It's okay, it's okay. O Frank está com um problema para compartilhar, então acho que ele vai tentar mostrar outra coisa.
¿Puedes preguntar y por qué se llama el último pájaro, sabe?
Sim. Lisette is asking why it's called the last bird.
It's called the last bird because of, as I said, in a war zone, there are no birds. They all leave. Just gonna get out of this. Sorry. Where are we? This one.
It's beautiful picture.
It's called the last bird because there are no birds left. The play starts with grandfather. It doesn't start, but the second scene is grandfather and the little girl. She asks him, "What did you do? You used to work in the," he said, "I used to work in the zoo and I looked after the birds." She'd say, "What's a bird?" Because she'd never seen one. And he describes what a bird is. And then she says, "Well, I think I saw one." He says, no, they're all gone because war has been here forever. So the birds are all gone. And she shows him a feather and he gets excited and they go off looking for this bird that might be the last one, and he wants to save it. He thinks they're going to look for a swan. Well, it turns out it was an angel that got captured by executioners. And of course they take it and they cut the wings off of it and then they send it down for medical research. I just have to let somebody in here. I'll be back. So Teresa, maybe you can pick up on that. You know this story.
Can I just share with Lisette what he said? Just a second.
Please, yeah.
Ok. Então, Lisette, o Frank está explicando que a peça tem esse nome porque em zonas de guerra não tem pássaros, né? E tem uma neta e um avô. Uma neta e um abuelo nessa peça. E a neta nunca viu um pássaro antes. Ela encontrou uma pena e ela acha que é de um pássaro, mas na verdade é de um anjo. Ela acha que é o último pássaro, mas na verdade é a pena de um anjo.
Como se habla anjo em espanhol? Anjo, anjo. Un ser celestial. La niña, la chica, piensa que miró el último pájaro, pero es una pena también no sé cómo hablo, una pena de un cuerpo celestial.
Ángel.
Bom, gente, a gente está já.
Can we stop sharing on Frank's screen for a second?
Sí,
Yeah.
algo está pegado en la pantalla. Ahí.
Sim. Teresa, do you want to share something?
I just wanted to show you, this is in the biography. Here's a picture of the last bird that was when it was done at Loose Moose, and that's actually Frank's brother, Tony. I think playing Jesus, or what is he playing here? Totino as Jesus. I don't know if you can see.
Totino is the photo.
That's Tony Totino.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got the waif mask character. Anyway, I have more, but they're on my hard drive.
That's being played by Ingrid there.
Ingrid.
Which was Keith's wife at the time.
If I can share my screen, maybe you can see this.
Yeah, sure. Oh,
see that?
Yeah.
There's the picture.
Então, gente, essa é uma foto da peça, né, do The Last Bird, o último pássaro. A gente está vendo aqui o irmão do Frank, o Tony Totino, E tem também a mulher do Keith, na época, a mulher do Keith, né? Que era a Ingrid, que está fazendo a personagem da menina abandonada, com a máscara ali na esquerda.
Aham. Excelente. Pessoal, eu acho que a gente podia ter mais duas perguntinhas aqui, mas uma seria que eu acho mais legal, porque a gente está já com o nosso tempo apertado. Que queria uma seria a importância de manter vivo os ensinamentos do Keith. Eu ia falar os ensinamentos do Frank, olha só. Manter a importância de passar isso, enfim. E a outra, vocês respondem o que vocês quiserem. E a outra pergunta é quais são as histórias personais, experiencias que nosotros, los participantes, tenemos con el trabajo de Keith y cómo eso impactó nuestra vida profesional. Pero también quiero, puedes elegir o que quieres hablar o si también quieres hacer alguna pregunta para, si Lisette quieres preguntar algo para Teresa o Frank, o si Frank o Teresa quieren preguntar algo. Okay.
Primeramente, bueno, creo que en cualquier escuela de improvisación del mundo deben hablar los maestros, hablar de Kit Johnstone. Como primera cosa, enseñar su metodología. Y eso va a ser una forma también de que perdure su legado, ¿sí? Sus ejercicios básicos, mantenerlos y también la lectura obligatoria de los libros de Kit Johnstone como base. Eso creo yo que va a ser, es muy importante que se mantenga como primera
Okay.
cosa.
Okay, so Aline, what was your question again?
There was a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Uma é
Legado.
se graças para eles poderem responder o que eles querem e se querem também perguntar entre si.
Uhum.
E primeiro, qual a importância de manter vivo a obra e os ensinamentos do Keith?
Uhum.
Ou se eles têm alguma história pessoal com o Keith que foi transformadora nas suas vidas profissionais.
Okay.
Isso poderia ser.
Okay.
É isso.
So there are three things. The first question, the first question is regarding what changed for you personally after you've met Keith, his teachings, what changed in your life? The second question is the importance of his legacy, what Keith gave us, if you could talk a little bit about that. And lastly, you can ask each other questions if you want. You can ask Lisette, you can ask Frank, Teresa. So we can go on any one of these three options.
You can do what you want to do.
Bueno, yo la primera ya la respondí, es lo que dije.
Sí.
Yes.
Y la segunda, para mí, bueno, si quieres, bueno, respondo la primera.
Sí.
La primera.
Okay, so Lisette, first place, she said that it's really important to all theater schools and if possible for books also, that they recognize Keith as a major figure in theatrical history and also his improv system. So she thinks that that's capital, that must happen.
Thank you. Obrigada. Yes, I mean, this is something that I talked about recently at the Applied Improvisation Network conference that happened in Vancouver, Canada, that benevolence is at the heart of Keith's work. And our job as educators who are passing on his work is to be benevolent to Keith, right? And honor his ideas, the things that inspired our own process, because when we do that, then we know what our unique point of departure is. We don't need to recreate the wheel, right? We don't need to recreate what Keith did, but we have to honor that, our foundation, and then we can build on that foundation. But you can't build on something if you don't know what that is and you don't honor that. So benevolence is about that for me.
Certo. A Teresa acabou de explicar, né, que um dos maiores legados do Keith é a questão da benevolência, a bondade com os alunos, e que ela, como uma professora, precisa ser também benevolente com os ensinamentos do Keith, né? Ela sente que ela precisa ser benevolente com o Keith, né? E ela sente também que não há necessidade de reinventar a roda, né? É uma questão de respeitar o legado dele e de continuar propagando ele, né? Principalmente por essa questão da benevolência.
Contestando bueno, no sé si la primera o la segunda pregunta sobre mi experiencia cuando fui a estudiar con él, me llamaba mucho la atención que cada respuesta a un ejercicio él la llevaba desde su experiencia, como en el año cuando decía, no sé, 57, un alumno me preguntó, bla, 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 y hablaba siempre sobre la experiencia que él había vivido y que lo que aprendía a través de los alumnos. Eso para mí creo que es algo que me quedó grabado maravillosamente. Y lo segundo es que él te desafiaba también a que cada ejercicio había que probarlo, que no creyeras solamente lo que te estaba diciendo, sino que pruébalo, experimentalo.
So Lisette was saying in regard to what changed, what impacted her through Keith's teaching. She was a student of his. She was saying that one of the major things that impacted her was that Keith not only applied the exercises, he also challenged the students to think for themselves and see if the things worked, didn't work. He was really, challenging them in a lot of aspects. And she was also saying that he learned through his students and the students learned from him. It was really a two-way street, she also was remarking that.
Okay, Frank, do you want to answer one of those questions?
Well, I forgot the questions, but I'll pick up on what these guys have said. And Teresa's ideas about benevolence. Keith always used to say, you're on the stage to make your partner look good. There's a confusion that improvisation is about, I get to do whatever I want. But and yeah, you do get to do whatever you want, but he was someone who said, if you do something on the stage that has an effect on your partner, the audience is looking to them to see what that effect is. And that's how stories are told, by watching the effect of one character on another, how they get changed, how they get altered. It's called dramatic action. And so that's the one thing, is the benevolence of the improviser should be to their working partners, but it should also be to the audience. He said one time, we have to care about our audience. They're the important part of the whole mix.
Yeah,
they're the ones.
The large intelligent beast, right? The large intelligent beast that needs to be tickled.
Yeah, the performing giant. It's the reason we get to do what we find meaning in our own lives is to go on the stage and allow that audience to have an experience that they can take away and feel like they got their money's worth, basically.
Uhum. Então, o Frank estava explicando que ele destaca muito a generosidade, né, que nós precisamos ter em relação aos nossos parceiros de cena e também com a plateia que está pagando para nos assistir, né? Nós temos que ter muito cuidado com a plateia. E que mais?
Vou te ajudar, vou te ajudar.
Obrigado.
Que é uma coisa que Frank falou agora que eu achei muito importante também, que foi você deixa de lado a ideia de que você pode fazer o que você te dá na cabeça quando você se preocupa com o seu parceiro em cena. Então, quando você começa a trabalhar para o seu parceiro, assim, para ele ficar bem em cena, para ele parecer bem em cena, você já abandona aquilo, eu faço o que eu quero, você faz o que for preciso para o seu parceiro ficar bem em cena. E que, na verdade, as pessoas estão no teatro para ver o que você faz, como tudo que você faz afeta ou provoca o seu parceiro. E que a gente está ali, e principalmente a plateia está ali, para ver como a gente se afeta, né? Como os parceiros são afetados pelas propostas. Certo, Tomás? ¿Comprendiste, cierto? Hablé muy devagar porque es muy complexo todo hablando en español. Bom, acho que estamos no final, encerrando esta mesa, e sim, podemos ou temos alguma outra coisa, Tomás?
No, I think we're good.
Acho que fechamos. Eu não consegui ver se tivemos interação de perguntas, porque eu estava tentando entrar em YouTube, pero não consigo fazer os dois ao mesmo. Vou melhorar para a próxima mesa. Então, não sei se temos perguntas
Não.
Não temos. Bom, então, gente, a gente vai finalizar esse primeiro encontro internacional, né, online nesse festival. Dizer, primeiro, muito obrigada, muitas gracias, Lisette. Sabes que te admiro mucho, que tú es una persona muy importante para mí, para mi vida, una grande referencia. Quero também thank you so much, Teresa Dudek. We are finished the meeting now. I just want to tell you that I love you a lot, and thank you for your time. Thank you, and let's do the Impro Feminino around the world. Let's do it.
Yes.
With Lisette and Frank. I don't have words to say how much I love you and thank you. And you are a big reference, a big person, and very important to me, to my life, to my professional life. And thank you for being here in this festival like this, how we are doing this. Vocês podem ver que meu inglês é bem péssimo, por isso que eu pedi para o Tomás traduzir, mas a gente vai que vai.
Ótimo.
And now I want to give you a few minutes to say the last words, what you want to tell us what you want to put on this. This will be record everything, and I will send you all the links to do what you want to about this. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for thanks for inviting me.
yeah.
Go ahead, Teresa. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go, Frank. You go.
Yeah, I do, because I got to get back to my project here too.
Yeah.
It's now
Yeah.
set. It's 6:30 in the evening, and I have a meeting to do some sound designs here. So,
Mhm.
but I wanted to say thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be part of anything that your company's doing, Alini. And it was great to see you again, Tomasa, to meet you, Lisette, and Teresa, as always. It's just wonderful. Even though it's our first time on a thing like this, it was kind of fun to look across, and there you are. So
Yeah.
I'll sign
Me
off.
too.
Thanks a lot, and have a great festival. I wish I was there.
Thank you. Bye, bye, Frank. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'll listen to
Go
Teresa.
ahead.
Oh.
Nada, quiero agradecerte a ti, a tu compañero que está acá también, por habernos dado la oportunidad, por haberme invitado a conversar en español. Y nada, quiero la biografía de Kit, para que Teresa me la haga llegar, pues yo quiero la biografía, esa, sí, para leerla acá en Chile y agradecerles, nada más, y que tengan un hermoso festival también.
Gracias, Lisette.
Graças, Vicente.
As próximas mesas serão todo em espanhol. Estou muito obrigada.
So I just thank you. This was lovely. It was so lovely to see you again, Alini and Tomas. You're so talk about benevolence. You are just so patient, and we're just like, spewing out all of this, and you're like, oh, but you're so kind. And Lee said, oh, I hope we can bring you and Alini up here to Portland, or maybe the next Global Improvisation Initiative Festival, we can bring you all up. So we'll have to work on that. I wanted to say, first of all, the Wake tribute that was put together, Andre Moscheto of Anthropofocus did the editing. It has Portuguese subtitles. That would be great to post for people to see. Yeah.
Podemos fechar com isso, Tomás. Quando todo mundo... Mas a gente fecha com o vídeo, o outro vídeo, sabe?
Maybe just underneath the video, like post it that would be great, because that's a wonderful collection of Keith's sayings. And then one thing more that Keith said to me in the hospital towards the end. I asked him, I said, if you had one wish, if you had only one wish in the world, what would that be? And he said, and I quote, to stop people from being greedy and make them understand, to be happy, you have to do things for other people.
Mm-hmm.
To stop, you have, that's so Keith, right at the end. That's what his wish was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was about a month before he passed away, but that's what he, I was trying to, talk to him and figure out what he wanted to leave the world, leave in the world, and stop people from being greedy.
A Teresa, gente, ela estava compartilhando aqui agora no final um dos últimos momentos do Keith Johnson no hospital, né? E ela perguntou para ele se ele tivesse um único desejo, né? Se ele tivesse que escolher um único desejo, qual seria esse desejo que ele faria, né? E ele explicou que seria que as pessoas deixassem de ser gananciosas, né? Que para você ficar bem, você tem que ajudar o outro, né? Você não pode ficar só pensando em si mesmo e sendo ganancioso.
Que a felicidade é isso, né? É você... Ok. Fechamos, então vamos passar o vídeo e aí a gente fecha.
Ok.
Vamos passar
Beijo.
o vídeo e estamos encerrando.
Obrigada.
Gracias.
Thank you, Teresa.
Gracias.
Eu...
Que estén bien.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm going to run off to teach my movement class now.
Okay,
See
okay.
you. Bye.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Obrigada.
You know what a great introduction to improvisation, because you may have absolutely nothing to offer. I was born in Brixham, which is a fishing town. When I was a child, you got out the house. First of all, you played around the harbour, because it was a little fishing town, very poor, because the fish had all died. Then as when you got maybe 6 or 7 years old, you would go further away from the harbour. At about 7 or 8, you made the cliffs. I decided when I was just before my 9th birthday not to believe anything the grown-ups said. And the next day I decided to always see if the opposite could be true. I think it changed my life. I've been doing it ever since. And it taught me to be looking for the obvious and not the clever. The obvious is really your true self. The clever is that an imitation of somebody else, really. And I was so pleased to be born in that place because it was beautiful. I was a total misfit as a teacher. They should have got rid of me. I only stayed because they inspected the school and found my class were doing excellent work. But don't think they liked me for that. I wrote out a list of all the things my teachers stopped me from doing. And I started teaching those. And as my teachers hated spontaneity, it was like a very good syllabus. I remember making faces was at the top. Making faces turned out to be a really important, very useful game. In my opinion, many professors don't really want you to learn. They want to look like good professors. They teach you not to like failure.
Okay.
I'm sure they did. But you can't learn anything without failing. So they had to teach you a different attitude towards failure. They teach you to hate it. No, you're failing. It means we can now teach you because you failed. You can't learn anything without failing. Therefore, we have to change your attitude to failure. Any idea will do if it inspires the person, but most people cling to ideas because they've been through this stupid training of being searching for the best idea. In fact, you learned at school to tempt yourself up. I do better. Give me another chance. You just fill yourself with tension, and that causes fear. And in my opinion, doing your best is the same as stage fright. There's this terrible culture in which everyone's taught to do their best. Went to see a mime class, and the teacher was cross. He said, no. Look as if you're walking in deep sand. I thought, why don't you say, hey, fantastic.
No,
You discovered the mime for walking in deep sand. It would be just the same. And it wouldn't be so negative. I was so naive, I thought acting, whoever afraid of the audience. All actors are afraid. I didn't understand that. That's why they don't look like people. I don't want to see all these frightened people on the stage. Normal acting does not deal with fear. You're supposed to hide it. It's like that Swedish guy who said that he'd always known he was scared, but he didn't know the others were equally scared until I arrived and started exploring the fear. You can't teach spontaneity, but you can get people to not do the things that stop them being spontaneous. Spontaneity, you don't teach spontaneity, you remove the obstacles. And of course, the main obstacle is you, your social self, which is so concerned with being approved of and liked and all the rest of that. And it screws you up. Action is so simple you can't grasp it. It's one person is changed by another.
Yes.
That's it. Wonderful actors make wonderful changes, profound changes. And the great playwrights make profound and wonderful changes. But it's so simple. How could one not see that? When I began to teach improvisation, I was astounded at all the things the improvisers did to wreck themselves because they were so negative and they can't. If they lit a fire, it would start to rain. That's a problem with people wanting to be original, so they reject what their mind gives them because they've seen it before and they've been taught not to cheat. You can't cheat in improvisation. There are no new ideas if you've been long enough. If it's obvious, people will like it. We've been trained the opposite. We've been trained that we're not good enough and we have to do extra stuff. By ourselves, we're not innately worth anything. So you use more effort. You can be a wonderful improviser, but you'd be better if you used less effort. Well, improvisers have an inhibition about it because they don't want to all be altered. I teach people to be boring, but not depressed. People are, well, I do see when people have interviewed me, they often told me that I didn't want the scenes to be funny. But if they take my advice, they'd be a hell of a lot funnier. You have to teach improvisers to think inside the box, or you can't work with them. You say to the mask actor, you say, make your mask fit the mask, the thing in the mirror is going to find a sound. And I said the thing in the mirror will make a sound. I haven't said you make a sound. That's devious. Once you're an experienced improviser, it's ridiculous not to kill ideas because some ideas deserve a quick death. If you didn't kill any ideas, it would all be like deflated sex dolls or Salvador Dali clocks. There'd be no guts to anything. I think we'd limp and pathetic. You'd have no resistance. Of course you have to kill ideas. All the things we say you shouldn't do when you start, in the end, of course you can do for pleasure, but not from fear. The thing about improvisation, if it's not risky, it's not worth doing.
Keith, what makes a good improviser?
Generosity and no fear. The audience connects things, but the improvisers disconnect because they've been taught to be original, but the real knowledge is in the audience. They know when to laugh, they know when to pay attention. If you direct a play, if you're not an idiot, then you get the audience and you watch the audience, because you're only guessing. The audience know when it's good and bad. But the idea that the audience might educate us instead of us with the knowledge educating the audience, but some sort of heresy and anathema. The audience wants to connect everything. The improvisers want to disconnect everything. So now you teach it and people think, oh, yeah, of course. It took me years to find that. Who wants to be 90?
I don't know.
Anybody who's 89. Well, the future's going to change us. It certainly changed me for the worse.
Oh,
Well, this feeling I'm going to wake up one day in a strange place. And they say, you've arrived. Mr. Johnstone, we've arrived. Quick, you're just in time for this theatre sports festival. We're going to be a break in 10,000 years. And then I'll know I've gone to hell. Laughter should not be the measure of all things. Did you relate to somebody? Did you inspire the people on the stage with you? Did you go on a journey into somebody that we haven't been before?
do you have advice for the next generation of improvisers?
Oh my God. Please try and be truthful and good-natured, for God's sake. And stop being so damn competitive. Be average, please. Because I want your best work, and I can't get your best work, and you try and do your best. Try and do anything wonderfully well. Go out and watch the sunset and write a great poem about it. No, go and write an average poem about it, and you have some hope of getting something good. There is no hope in doing your best. It's a disaster.
Obrigada, pessoal. Estamos finalizando assim. Até a próxima mesa.